Hey everybody, Jim here, trying another project on my own. Today I'm replacing the headlamps of a 2021 Toyota 4Runner. We're replacing these lamps because we actually don't like the way they project. There's a real hard line between what's lighted and what's not lighted in a couple of spots. It's a common problem with these things for a lot of these. These are sealed, so we can't just replace the bulb, we have to replace the whole unit. I've never done this before, and instead of calling an expert, I'm just going to try to do this by myself. What could go wrong?
Pretty sure I messed up my lights. I don't know what's wrong. What do you think? Wait, what does that mean? What does that mean? No, wait!
Over here on the table, I have the new replacement lamps. I did get the darker instead of the chrome on these new lamp replacements. And I'm going with some LEDs. There's some mixed feelings about how these LEDs function. So I got these Shenkenuo. They got good reviews, and so I'm gonna give these things a shot. I am replacing, I have a list here, the headlight, high beam, low beam. What you'll need to do this project is a 10mm socket wrench or a box wrench, I like a socket, and then a flathead screwdriver. To place these lamps, we're gonna need to remove this entire front bumper. Okay, very first step is to remove this aesthetic bezel. So that just happens with these little pops. You push them down to release them, and then with the flathead screwdriver you can pop them out. There's 13 that I see at the top. And then this just simply lifts out. So the next thing is I want to find any other connections up here that are holding this on. It looks like there is one here, here, and some down here. This is a little different type where it pops out of the middle by lifting it. You can see a slot here. So different type, but still simple enough to get it off. Okay, 4 of those. This looks like it's 2. Okay, so I've moved over here under the wheel well, and it looks like there's 3 screws over here. So 1, 2, 3. So for the bottom, I'm on the driver's side again. We're gonna remove this screw over here and this one as well. All right, so now I've finished pulling the screws out of the passenger and driver's side, and it looks like there's 2 more 10mm nuts right here under the middle. So I'm almost ready to pull the bumper, but what I want to do is make sure that these tabs where they were screwed together are loose. Be careful that you don't mar the paint. And I'm just doing this with a quick twist so that they loosen up a little bit. This one's a little bit different, so I'm gonna come back from the back side of it and see if I can get that to loosen up a little bit. There we go. That's what we wanted it to do, is pop off like that. So that I'll be able to get my hands under here. This thing makes you a little nervous pulling it off because it's really kind of holding on tight. So there's a bit of a snap. That's normal. So we're gonna work around and pop this thing free. If it hangs anywhere, it means I'm missing something. Okay, so I was having trouble getting this off. When that happens, it means we've missed something. So I just noticed that there's another bolt here. So I'm gonna pop this real quick and see if that gets us any further. All right, as we're pulling this apart, we also realized that we have some instruments up here, probably the sonar for distance, and you need to unplug this as well. And it's just a quick snap. It's a pinch connector on the back. All right, besides this harness right here, there's also 2 bolts that connect it here as well. So you're gonna remove these. Of course, all these are all still 10 millimeter. So we'll pop these, and then that gives us access to pull the bumper off. So my next step is to detach everything on this headlamp. There are 3 screws on the top. So there's one over here under this little cover. There's one here, and the 4th one I found is over here. We also want to be sure to disconnect the lamps in here. So this is required a screwdriver, so I have to push this down and then pull to release that one. This one has a lever on the back, so you want to push down here and it will lift off the front. Here we go. And as I pull it, you can see that here's the harnesses over here for the turn signal. So I will pull these. These again have the pinch to release them. So 2 things I wanted to point out. This is the old lamp, and you'll see that there's no way to access the light, where on these new other models you have access to this opening here. 2 is there is a bracket that is here installed on this where these screws are, that is not on this. I'm gonna have to transfer this bracket here over to the new lamps. Okay, so here's that bottom bracket piece we want to reinstall on the new unit. Okay, so I'm replacing these with LED. Now these LEDs have some heat sink fans on them to pull the heat off of them. So one of the things we want to be cautious of, the fit of these. So this is the low beam, and here it's marked with an L, and then the HB3s, the high beam, is over here. So I'm going to start with this low beam. So for orientation, what we want to do is find on this the larger groove. That larger notch fits in the larger notch here, as we just discovered. So we've got it seated. Map the plus with the red. So we're going to look like this. Okay. Now the next thing is to be able to stuff this in here appropriately so that we can allow enough airflow. So that looks like it fits nicely back there. Great. Okay, so we're ready for the high beam. So this is a 9005 or an HB3 as it's marked here. So this is the same. We're gonna again match the grooves so that we can seat this and then twist it so that it is held in place. There we go. That was about 1/4 of a turn. Okay, real quick note, we actually ran into a bit of a hiccup here. So the new one came with a 2-wire harness, which doesn't match. Harness that came on the vehicle, it's even though it's 2-wire, they wired in 2 wires on a 4-wire harness. So we had to make some modifications. It's okay. What we did to solve that was we wanted to keep what's on the vehicle, keep the same. So we took off the old harness off the old headlight, spliced it in to the wires here on the new one, and cut the old one off here. Okay, so we're going to reattach. We're ready to install this. Going to reattach in the opposite order that we disconnected it now. So we're going to swing these lights here, fit it into place, and then reattach the other harnesses. Okay, it's looking good so far. It's seating nicely where it's supposed to be. On the passenger side, this is the new housing, the headlight housing. So we've gone ahead and installed the new lights and the low beam and the high beam. We've migrated the turn signal light over. So this is actually ready to install. We've got the lights installed. We've tested them. They're working great. Be sure you run through a test cycle. Check your low beams, your high beams, your blinkers, your hazards. Do the whole thing. We're going to now reinstall backwards. And the first thing we want to start with is the harness that's on the driver's side. So here's the harness that goes first. So you might get a buddy to help you with this because it's going to be a little hard to hold the bumper up and then connect this harness. Okay, so that harness plugs up into this from the bottom up. So I'm going to actually do this in reverse order. I put the bumper back on. It's just sitting here. We're going to start with these 2 screws down here, which are the last 2 I took out. Connect this harness. Then we're going to go underneath, connect this, and around in the wheel wells as well. All right, so we're just going in reverse order, starting with these here to hold the bumper. These are metal connections, so this will give us a good firm connection to begin with. So you just want to work your way around, work each little piece in at a time. Don't force anything. Okay, I just finished reattaching the 6 screws on the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For these fender wells, you want to make sure that this fender well is tucked in appropriately underneath the way it was fitted into these grooves that are in these screws. As a final touch, you just want to make sure that that seam all looks exactly the way you'd expect it to be, the way it's supposed to look. Yes. When reinstalling these, you want to pull the cap out. This is what locks it, is down in. So you want to pull it out, seat it, and then snapping it back in is what locks it down. Don't forget you pulled these little water and air gaskets out. So you want to make sure that they're reseated underneath and fit properly down around this groove. For reattaching these, the same concept applies. So you want to be able to pull that out, maybe not too far or these won't go in, and then it snaps back in like that.